I mean, you learn the anatomy one time or a couple of times, right? Like you master the basic or the most like standard human anatomy, and then whenever you're making a new type of character, you just adapt that knowledge to the new proportions or to the new elements. So it's not like you have to be taking classes every single time, but you definitely need to learn a little bit about like the changes that the character or the creature will need. I see, I see. Yeah, hard surface is a really good like pipeline as well, and this is something that I mentioned frequently, Priyanshu. If you know the tools, like if you know how to use Maya, Blender, or ZBrush, it's fairly easy. I'm not gonna say it's super simple, but it's fairly easy to jump from one thing to another. So, in my experience, even though my focus has always been sculpting and characters, I can still do buildings, I can still do cars, I can still do guns, I can still do weapons, armor. So, again, if you know the main tools, then you should be able to jump from one thing to another. Of course, there are certain elements or certain skills that are more focused towards specific parts of the or specific elements of the pipeline, but that doesn't mean that you cannot do other stuff. Hey, 2x3, what's up, man? Welcome. We're gonna start in a little while. We usually start the countdown a little bit earlier to get everyone a chance to join and to learn with everyone else here. Let me know if the music's too loud or if it's fine. I want to make sure that I'm not making this way too loud. Emmanuel, what's up, man? What does the cover on the video says? It's right there on the name. The topic for today's workshop is right there. Priyanshu, yes, man. Like, if you have those 4 courses, the next thing that you need to do is do the courses, because a very common thing is that people just buy a course or they buy a class and then they never do the exercises, they never do the work, and that's not gonna work. 30 minutes is way too much. I'm normally not here on the computer, but yeah, we'll probably shorten it to like 30 minutes the next time. I'm usually running other like errands and stuff, so I'm not here talking. But if you have questions, feel free. I'm just setting some stuff up here that we're gonna be using. What is my opinion on AI in the 3D game art? Yeah, I talked about that on the last video, the capsule. It's a complicated topic, to be honest. It's not like so super simple to, what's the word, to just like briefly mention. But my main takeaway is that the tool, like the AI tools, will never go away, right? Like, they're now part of the public mindset, or however you want to call it, and that means that we're gonna have to deal with it, and that means that we're gonna have to be very mindful of which ones we pick, which ones we use, and which ones we, well, do not. So my main advice is keep an eye out for what's gonna happen in the next couple of months, but be very, I guess, have some values, have some morality on which ones you want to use and which ones you don't want to use. There was a, what's the word? There was a very famous, well, not very famous, but there was a small studio. Well, I'm not sure if it's small or not, but there was a studio on LinkedIn last week that made an announcement regarding AI, and I think I really like their stance. they mentioned that they're only going to be using AI that does not affect the creative process. So, for instance, they're going to be using AI to upscale their images. They're going to be using AI to remove the noise of some of their renders. They're going to use AI to process like large amounts of data or to keep control of large amounts of data. So, as long as there's no creative sort of like input involved and it makes the work a lot easier, they're going to use it. But they're not going to use it to generate like new characters or new textures or new renders or whatever. They're only going to be using as a supplement sort of thing. And I think that's a very like, I'm not even going to say honorable, but that's a very like a fair, I think it's the right word. It's a very fair way to use it. But it's been a topic of quite a bit of discussion, as you guys have seen in the last couple of months, and well, it's probably about a little bit more than a year since we got like some big AI stuff. Yeah, exactly. That I think again, I think that's a very fair stance to take with the approach. Because for instance, I remember hearing about Blizzard a couple of months ago, and Blizzard has huge libraries of concept art, right? Like concept art that they might have never used for their own games because there was not enough or like there was not specific use for that or whatever. And technically they could create an AI that uses that information, a bunch of like concepts that other artists did, and create new concepts, and they technically already paid for that. But I still think that that's like dishonorable because you're taking away the opportunity for someone else to create something, and that's where AI can be very dangerous. Is Xgen better than Fiber Mesh? Yes, like by a mile. It's way too much. Yeah, I get that, Capsule. Like I understand that 3D is a very technical sort of like approach, very technical career, but there's still a lot of decisions that need to be made by humans, I think. There was one guy on the video like having a very like tough discussion, and it was an interesting. He had some fair points, but he was not seeing, I think, the main point of how the human experience so far cannot be mimicked by any sort of like AI. We're gonna talk about the real time here today. Yeah, we can talk a little bit about it. Mo2 Infinity. Would you recommend Jetty or Xgen with feathers or fur? I think for feathers, Jetty is better. I think it has like some proprietary like elements that are just makes it a little bit easier for someone using or for someone doing feathers to use it. I haven't used it in a long time. I actually haven't used Yeti. I used Ornatrix, which was a slightly different one. We're covering Xgen, Manuel, as I mentioned. Palacurti, what's up, man? Sculpt Twitch, what's up? Is there a difference between Xgen and Xgen interactive grooming? Yes, there is. So the traditional Xgen, which is the one that we're going to be using today, is more aimed towards a finer control over the hair. So it's really good for characters and stuff like that. And the interactive groom is more for like fur. So if you want to do like a tiger or like a lion or something like that, you might be using interactive grooming instead, because you can actually like groom the character. So you can accommodate all of the hair strengths in specific ways. I had an issue with my place brush. I would need to see exactly what the issue is, man. But yeah, there's ways to control the affected hair area. as a 3D artist, what challenges do you face and how experience helps as a 3D artist to get better and better? Here's the thing, man. I've talked about this before. When I introduce myself in a professional setting, right? Like if I'm going to a meeting or something, I never say that I'm a 3D artist. And I mean, I guess that's a little bit true because even though I know about 3D and I teach about 3D as a professional, other than the teaching aspect, I'm more of a 3D producer. So my job or my main focus is to talk to a client, understand what their need is, and find the tools and the team, build a team if needed, of artists, including myself, who can make that solution happen. So yes, I do freelance work, character work, sculpting work, stuff like that. But my big projects have all been productions. So commercials, architectural visualization, VR experiences, AR experiences, stuff like that. So it's the challenges, I would say, is finding the clients, of course, and trying to understand the need of the client. That's one of the big ones. Like, you need to make sure that you understand what the client needs so that you can offer that solution. Because if you don't understand him, then it's very difficult for you to communicate and for you to generate something that's going to be useful for them. I've been using OBS Alpha. I tried Streamlabs for a while, a couple of years ago, but I didn't like the interface. It was like too, I don't know. I preferred the kind of like bare bones of OBS. And yeah, I've been using that one for a while. Like my studio and my stream or my setup has been increasing and getting better and better. I've had to invest quite a bit of money, to be honest, but it's for the better. We get a better sound, better camera, better everything. Yes, you definitely need a strong computer, and actually have been feeling that on the last course that I've been recording. I've been doing the substance course, which I'm going to talk about a little bit in the in this stream. But since you use, well, at least I use a lot of GPU, and I feel like my GPU is no longer strong enough. Is there any Unreal course coming? Not soon. But yes, there's been requests for me to do an environment course and like basics of Unreal, like basics of blueprints and stuff like that. So we are going to have that, but probably through the middle of the year or something. I'm on a 3080 Ti Motumen, 3080 Ti. But for instance, right now we're going to be rendering with GPU inside of Maya. I'm streaming with the GPU encoding. Sometimes I even record with GPU. So I ran out of memory very quickly. Baestes, what's up, man? Hello there. How are you today? Do you mind me asking if English... No, English is not my first language. Español. Yo hablo español, soy mexicano. I'm from Mexico. And English is my second language. And I have a little bit of German under my belt, so I understand it. I can't read it roughly. But yeah, like English and Spanish are my main languages, I would say. Yeah, but my CPU, it's not that good. It's a Ryzen 7 5800. So I've had issues when, if I'm running on GPU encoding, it takes a little bit longer. I don't know. It looks weird. my name my name is Abraham. So Abram. It's pronounced Abram in Spanish. But in English, it's Abraham, and I hate how it sounds. Like, I hate the sound of, like, the full name in English. So, Abe is the short that I've been using for all my English-speaking friends. Leal means loyal. The translation, it's loyal. That's not only in India, Priyanshu. That happens pretty much everywhere. In Mexico, we also have a little bit of that issue, where a lot of the examples... You think so, Sarn? Maybe, right? But yeah, a lot of art schools, unfortunately, there's a little bit of bureaucracy involved. I was in a school, very big school here in Mexico. I'm not going to say the name, but people can guess it. It's a private school. And they couldn't hire me. They wanted me to teach classes there, but they couldn't hire me because technically, for you to be able to teach at a university level, you need to have a master's degree. And for you to teach at a master's degree, you need to have a doctorate. So I only technically have my certificate from Noman, and it was a very weird thing that we had to do to make sure that we could teach there. And I taught there for a couple of years, but there was some like shady stuff that they had to do on the system to make it so that I could do it. And I always thought that that was ridiculous because in our field of work, the most important thing is your work, right? Like the title, you can have the title from the best school, and if your portfolio sucks, well, you suck. That's pretty much it. So it's a different approach, unfortunately. But when you try to put art into the classrooms, it becomes a little bit different. Your name is like from a fantasy book, Abraham Loyal. Yeah, the first name is it's a very strong name. I think there's a huge like here in Mexico, you don't see this name very often. I only know like 2 or 3 other Abrahams, but I think on the like the Eastern Europe and like Northern Africa and Middle East, because it's a Jewish name, I think. I'm not completely sure. Yeah. That's and again, it's not only in India, man. Like here in Mexico, we have a similar situation where schools are, what's the word? Schools are very focused on the revenue and the money, and not always in teaching. That's why I started my own school. Well, I did start my own school a couple of. I'm gonna go full screen for this one because you guys might know this, but I started my own school. It was not an official school, right? But I was giving classes, and I had like a full program of like different levels that you would like go through to become a 3D artist. And I had computers, I have everything. Like it was like very cool. It was called Critical Hit. That's the logo. The logo that we have. This here on the countdown, you can see it on the background. On the countdown, you can see the little dice. That's the logo from Critical Hit, which was my academy. So Critical Hit Academy, which is actually still my email. So we had that school, and we were doing great. But then the pandemic, happened, and we had to stop or to just like close the school, unfortunately. But now we have the site, so ableel3d.com. That's like the new school, and we have all of the classes there. Rag, yes. I mean, Critical Hit's only me. If you were part of Critical Hit back in the day, you might remember Ivan, Ray, Tadeo, Luis, all of the other 3D artists. And unfortunately, like we're no longer working together. Not because we don't want to, but just because it was not possible anymore. So, but yeah, like Critical Hit's still my brand, still my what's the word? My work. So anything that I do freelance is through Critical Hit. It's just not at the academy anymore. And now we have, of course, the site. Anjana, what's up, man? Hello. Yeah, softwares, and this is a very important thing, Priyanshu. Softwares are important, but it's not the most important part, I think. Because you can teach a software to a lot of people. Like, I know artists that are really good software artists, meaning that you can tell them to do something and they can do it. But then when you tell them to create something or to imagine something without having the guides to do it, they can't. It's very difficult to them. So that's where you can find more value for yourself as an artist. If you can not only use the softwares properly, but you can also have creative ideas, creative solutions, that makes you more valuable. Abraham, Gabriel, David. Yeah, I had an uncle. His name was Gabriel as well. And I know plenty of Davids. Several Davids over here as well. It's a very common name in Mexico. Oh, that's a difficult question, Priyanshu. I'm not sure. I would say a big amount. I would say at least like half, probably. Like there's a lot of self-taught artists. And here's the thing, Priyanshu. When you stop going to school, when you finish your degree or your certificate or whatever, and you start working, you keep learning. That's why we have our motto, right? Always learning, always improving. Because you will keep learning, and you, what's the word? And you will learn by yourself. Like every day, I am learning something new. a new workflow, a new button. Like a couple of days ago, someone showed me a new tool that I didn't know Maya had, which is like a little calculator. So you can use a function to calculate simple things like divisions and additions and subtractions. I was like, oh, I've been using Maya for 12 years and I didn't know that. No, we're not gonna go back to critical hit as a physical location rack. We might do some sort of like critical hit online school later. I mean, it's far away in the plans, but that's something that I've been thinking about. Because unfortunately, the city where I'm in, it's a very small city. Well, not unfortunately, I really like it, to be honest. It's a very chill city, but there's not a lot of audience, so it would be really stupid for me to build a huge like school over here, or buy all of the computers again when the number of students is going to be low. And the way we're doing it now with the online courses, like we have a lot of students. I think we're over 2,000 students combined in all of the platforms for this new brand. In all of the years that I've taught, I think I'm like above 35,000 students or something. It's just like the amount of people that you can reach online is just ridiculous compared to the physical. Yes, there are certain limitations to it. For instance, I cannot be there with you and help you out like physically on how to fix certain things. But hopefully with the Discord channel that we've been developing, the community and everything, this becomes like easier. Died of Decentry says, you're a very talented artist and very invaluable teacher. Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. It really means a lot to me to hear from you guys. Did Blender kind of disrupt the freelance industry? I started to do the work in lesser amount due to it being open source. No, it doesn't disrupt it. It actually makes it more accessible. So it puts the 3D world into the spotlight, because now anyone can just like download Blender and learn how to do it. So I think it opens up the opportunity for more people to do it. And of course, that means more competition, but it also means hopefully more projects and more opportunities for everyone. Can we use Marmoset for the photo renderings? Yes, of course. I use Marmoset all the time. Why is Unreal so hard to learn? I mean, Unreal is a very complex software, Hanma. So if you're trying to learn everything regarding Unreal, then yes, it's going to be like super difficult. But if you focus on specific areas, if you're like, I just want to do programming, or I just want to do environments, or I just want to do like animation, like if you focus on specific parts, it should be more manageable. Mo to me says, major in the medical field, and I've taking a gap year to focus on my actual passion in art. So far, it's been going too well. I'm all set in building my portfolio right now, and my level is actually decent. What's your report about that? I think that's I applaud anyone who's brave enough to take that leap, because it's not easy, right? I did a similar one when I was younger. I've talked about it before, and it's definitely challenging to go from something that's certain or something that you have experience in, and then jumping into something that's completely unknown to you. However, or actually not however, one thing that I would recommend to you, Motoman, there's a lot of work as well on the medical field where like 3D visualizations, renders and things like that. You can use all of the 3D skills that you've been learning and develop things for an industry that you already know. So just keep that in mind as an option, because I know everyone always wants to jump into games and films, but the thing is, there's and I've mentioned this before, it's so many things that you can do with 3D. It's like a language. Is Fiverr good enough for freelancing, as it's more competitive, where it's good to have connections? Connections are always good, of course, Priyanshu. I've never used Fiverr before. I've been tempted to like open a profile and see like how it works, so that I can also give you guys a better like experience or feedback, or I don't know. Yeah, my experience with it, but I haven't done it, so I'm not sure. But my best advice about freelancing is never do something for free. Have everything written up. Have a contract if possible, and have as much communication as you can with the client, because those are the things that make the whole process very difficult to approach as you keep going forward. Sorry, I'm checking some messages on the phone. This is one of the things that I don't like when I'm streaming. I kind of like focus Um, we focus on, or I focus too much on the stream and I forget to check my phone. And sometimes there's like clients talking. It's like, hey, we're looking for you. What's happening? Let's see. Do you plan to start a project such as a series, short or video game? Yes, actually, Rack, I've been thinking about doing that for the past couple of weeks. And I think I'm going to do like one weekly video on a series. And I did this last year. I'm not sure if it was last year. No, it was the year before. So like, oh wow, time flies. Yeah, it was in 2022. At the end of 2022, I did a series where I did a little NPC character, like a monster character, and I did the full process, like sculpting, retopology, what's the word? Texturing, UVs, rigging, animation. I brought it all the way into Unreal. So I'm thinking about doing something like that. I'm gonna have to need your guys' support. So if you're not following on YouTube or you're not following here on Twitch, that really helps us so that we can afford to do that. Because otherwise it becomes a little bit challenging to manage all of the projects at the same time. And Hanma, yeah, if you're just going to be doing character render inside of Unreal, it should be relatively easy. However, if it's just render that you want to do, you might want to take a look at Marmoset as well. Because Marmoset works similar to a game engine, and you're going to be able to get some very, very nice renders. And I do think the interface and the whole process is a little bit more user-friendly. The newer one, Priyanshu, because it's more recent. The new Marvelous course, which we're gonna link in just a second in case you wanna check it out. It's a little bit more complete because we go over all of the same tools, but I go a little bit more in depth on how and why they work the way they do, and we develop a full project. So the other one, the first one that I did, I feel like it's more like exercises so that you understand the tools, and this one's more like it's a more standard production approach where you need to think about how to tackle certain things, and we're not following any sort of reference. We're creating our own reference. So I think it's a little bit more artistic oriented. And also I think the final result, the final thumbnail of the Marvel's course is way cleaner and way like nicer. Oh, I love this song. We've been using Chill Hop, which is it's a free, I think it's free. Well, so far it has been free. Yeah, if you have the old one, don't worry, man. Like, you're still, I've mentioned this before, and I'm gonna go full screen again to make this very clear and get your guys' attention. I'm probably gonna have to mention this a couple more times throughout the year. I'm no longer part of the Next team. It was a great time. I had an amazing time developing content for them. However, I decided that I wanted to pursue a different direction, and I'm no longer part of the Next team. So all of the courses that I did with them, I think I did like 25 courses for them. They're still going to be available. You can still purchase them, but I don't get a single cent out of those. Like they get all the revenue, they get all the payments and stuff. And the bad thing, like that's not even, like I don't care about that really. But what I do care about is that I don't have access to the questions. So if you make a question or ask a question on any of the old courses on Udemy, on Skillshare, or any other of the platforms where they sell those courses, I don't see it. So you're not talking to me, okay? You're talking to someone else who is answering the question. They have a team of artists who also know most of the softwares, and they're going to be able to help you, hopefully. But that's not me. I do not have access to any of the courses anymore. Thyros, Saria, the Mechanical Lion, the Hard Surface, like all of those courses, you can still get them, you can still learn, but you cannot like interact with me through them because I'm no longer part of the team. So if you bought any of those courses, which I still think are great and they're going to help you a lot because I always make my stuff with a lot of quality, make sure to join the Discord and ask me a question there, because otherwise I'm not going to be able to see the questions, and you might think that you're talking to me, but you're not talking to me. You're talking to some other instructor, okay? So just keep that in mind, please, guys. Solid Mango. I'm good, man. I'm good. We're about to start. Just 6 more minutes. Yeah, it's part of life. Dysentery, as a dysentery, it's part of life. It's not a nice part of life, but hey, We make our choices. Everyone makes their choices. So, as they say, shit happens. Yeah, if you wanna support the channel, the new site, that's the best way to do it. No, I cannot do that, Solid Mango. No, it was it's a tricky situation. So if you want to get the sci-fi Gurkles, just get it. Again, I don't care about the money. It's not That's not the reason. And you can ask David. Like whenever I talk about teaching and doing this, which is something that I love, I don't care about the money. So it's fine. Just get it. My advice is wait for an offer, because on Udemy you can sometimes get those courses for like $10 or something. So wait for a sale so that you can get it as cheap as possible for you, and that's it. If you want to support me, we have the courses on my site. You can get those, of course. There's a Gumroad where I have several of the models. You can drop a donation there if you want. You can donate here if you want. Again, it's not needed or anything. But yeah, like, because again, I still think that all of the courses that I did are good. So I think the quality and the content on those is really, really good. Now, what I'm going to be doing is a lot of those courses as you probably have seen so far, I've been redoing some of those topics with more updated information, with a better quality, with a better stuff on my site. So that's what I did with the Marbles course, for instance. Coco Eli says, you really have a talent for keeping the content of your courses engaging. The interesting thing, Coco Eli, is that some people think that that's annoying. And that's fine. Like, there's instructors for everyone, right? So I've had some people say, like, oh, you're too energetic. That's very annoying. I cannot stand your voice. It's like, well, I mean, if you don't like it, that's perfectly fine. But I'm glad that you find it engaging. Because I also think that that's a very, like, common issue with tutorials and things like that. What's the word, that we get, there's a lot of very knowledgeable people, but not everyone is a knowledgeable instructor. So they sometimes have a hard time explaining how things work, or they just glaze over certain elements and they don't really explain in depth why the things work the way they work. And I've always been the kind of guy that really shows how things are made. Next week, man, Salted Mango, it's scheduled for next Wednesday. So before February ends, we're going to have our new substance course. We're actually going to be seeing a sneak peek in just 3 minutes. So in 3 minutes, we're going to be working on something that I need to do for the substance courses. So this workshop today is one. We're going to have 2 this time. This is one of the bonus chapters that we're going to have. So this bonus chapter today, we're going to be doing the hair groom for the character that we're doing for the substance course. Will you talk about Xgen hair cards? No, CG Spiral. We're not going to talk about hair cards. We're going to do traditional, like, fiber hair. Roma is in the house. What's up, Roma? Yeah, see, like, when I was a beginner student, I also preferred the tutorials where it was just like step by step, like what I do, and that has always been my goal, to be like an introductor to the 3D world. However, nowadays I also like the speed, like the speed, what's the name? Yeah, speed painting or speed sculpting, because I know the tools already. So if I can get to the important part or the important tool that I need to know, it's a little bit more efficient for me. But yeah, like I do think that, especially when you're starting or when you're learning, having a step-by-step guide is very, very useful. Scratcherax, hola. Hola, Scratcherax. We were all noobs at one point. See, that's one of the things that a lot of people forget about. A lot of people forget the time where they were noobs as well. And you start learning, and then you start getting this sort of like ego where you think you're better than everyone else. It's like stop that. Come on. Like, we've all been at a point in our career where we didn't know how to do something. So I get very mad when I'm in, like, the Reddit groups or in the Facebook groups, and someone asks a very simple question. It's like, hey guys, how can I extrude all of these faces separately? Because when I extrude, everything is together. Just answer the question. That's it. Just tell the guy. He's learning. But there's a lot of, like, freaking douchebags that are going to be like, oh, you should Google that, or just go on YouTube and learn. It's like, he's asking an honest question, and you guys are just, like, giving him a shit for it. Like, that sucks. Like, it's so, like, it's so horrible to see when that happens. Pradeep says, I really think you're a great instructor and your courses are very engaging. You're always pour down your thought process, which is as important as the creation process itself. So I think it's good. Thanks, Pradeep. Yeah, I always try to explain everything as the best as I can. CAD softwares use a different type of construction, Priyanshu. They care about the surface of the object, so they're going to go with very precise curvatures. They're more mathematically. I guess the simple way in which I can explain is like the difference between pixels and vectors. So CAD softwares are more like vector-oriented, where everything is super precise, and the 3D softwares like Maya or ZBrush are more polygon-oriented, like pixel-oriented, right? Where the looks of things are more important rather than the precise like measurements. There we go. It looks like our beat. No, that was not it. Anyway, what's up, guys? Welcome to the stream. My name is Abliel, and today we're gonna have a cool workshop. We're gonna be working with Xgen. Xgen is one of those topics that can be very mystifying. We've already covered it a little bit on the on the YouTube channel, but I wanted to make this live session so that we can answer questions, learn together, find and create something that's gonna be hopefully very, very cool. So yeah, let's go over some important announcements before we jump into, before we go into this exercise right here. There we go. There's the chat. There's the goals. Excellent. So some people were asking about the next course. When is the next course going to be releasing? And the next course is going to be our Substance Painter course. It's a complete guide to Substance Painter. The title is still going to be defined in the next couple of days, but it's going to be releasing next week, okay? Before the month ends, we're going to be releasing the new course. And this right here, this is a sneak peek of what we're going to be doing. Chapter 3 of the course is the skin texture, and I'm going to be showing you a more advanced skin texturing as you're seeing right here. We're going to be doing a dwarf character. You saw the dwarf character. We worked on it a couple of weeks ago, but I'm not going to be, I'm not going to be showing the whole armor just yet because it's a very cool surprise that you guys are going to see very, very soon. Eduardo, don't worry. I did see your message. If you want me to answer, just let me know. That's a fair question. You can answer. I can answer it. I don't care. So will it be in Udemy? No. This one will not be in Udemy. This one will be in my site. I've mentioned the reason before. The reason is that Udemy uses some interesting sales tactics that unfortunately can be very harmful for small creators like myself. So as long as we have the community that we have right now, and as we keep growing, we're going to be using our site. However, we're going to try to find like good opportunities. We might have some giveaways when the course launches, and hopefully the price, which is going to be like similar or pretty much the same price as all of the other courses, is fair enough for everyone, and you guys can learn a lot from it. So Solid Mango says, what do you like this character so much? I've seen you make it so many times. I haven't done a full dwarf course. I've made several dwarfs. I love dwarfs. I think they're like, if I had to choose my favorite like a fantasy race, dwarfs are definitely one of them. So that's why you've seen me do it a lot of times. And the reason why I'm using this right now is because I already had the model, so it was going to be a lot easier, and it was going to save me a lot of time for the production of the character. But don't worry, we're going to do other types of characters next. We've done too many fantasy in this past couple of months. It's time to do some modern stuff in the next ones. Roma says, I can't agree with that, Abe. Sometimes answer is just, yeah, I understand that the answer to some like 3D softwares is very easy to Google. But again, we're a community, right? So it's not the same thing to ask Google and just solve the solution for yourself than to talk to someone that could give you a better understanding. Okay, so let's start with Xgen, my friends. There's a couple of things that we need to be very clear about before we start creating the grooms here for the character. The first of them is we need to make sure that the character is looking good. What do I mean by this? Well, the materials are properly set up. If I go here to the render is working fine as well. Well, there we go. I'm gonna be rendering at a low resolution for now because it's I don't want to like crash the stream or anything. So we're gonna be doing something like this, and And yeah, we're gonna start doing the groom. Now, very important, you need to have a project set up. So I set up this project. It's called the the dwarf. That's the name of this dwarf, door. Like a door, but without one O. And we're gonna be doing the groom in a new scene called Doorhead Groom. And the scene is saved. It's a very common mistake. People open Maya, they start doing the Xgen setup, and they have not saved the scene. And when they try to save the maps for Xgen, it doesn't work. Game ready model, weird look of mouth. It's just I mean, it's just this is supposed to be, yeah, game ready, Roma. Like, the topology is not super dense. The mouth, I like to do it like this when I'm sculpting and modeling, so that we don't get any contamination on the base of the lips. And later on the rig process, you very easily close it. So it's not that bad. Isn't Studio Light better for look development? Yes, and this is a like normal, like traditional more studio. This actually, it's called Photo Studio Brown. So you're free to use whichever one, as long as you have a clean sort of like white balance light. That's good for Xgen, I would say. Now here's a cool little trick. If you don't want to see the element right here, you can actually scale your HDRI all the way down to 0. And when you render, I mean, you will not see it, but the light's still gonna be there. You can also turn it off on the, what's the word, on the render, like camera rays and stuff like that. Okay, so once you have your material setup, once you have your character setup, we need to start setting up our Xgen groom. And there's a bunch of different ways to do it. I like doing this one, which I'm about to show you. And this is the one that I've seen used in production quite a bit. And that is to actually extract the area where the hair is going to be. And the reason why we do this is so that the maps are a little bit easier to control, okay? So I'm gonna go here to the right view. And let's start with something simple. Let's start with the eyebrows. So I'm gonna go to face mode. I'm gonna go to my lasso tool, and I'm gonna select the area here where I would expect the eyebrows to be, like right around there. Okay, and then grabbing all of those faces, I'm gonna go to edit mesh, and we're gonna duplicate those faces, and I'm gonna push them just slightly in. Okay, you can see them that they're pretty much on top of the surface, but they're inside the character. Why is this important? It's important because even if you rig this, you can rig the same weight on this area, and again, it's gonna make it a little bit easier. You can definitely use the base mesh or the base like head as the surface from where your Xgen is gonna be like being like extruded. But again, I feel like this is a nice, also like a nice way to do it. Exactly, scalps, that's the name. Thank you, Jack. I didn't know how to say that in English. So yeah, these are the scalps that we're gonna be using. So sometimes you're gonna find one for the head, one for the eyebrows, one for the beard, and this is very important. You made the effort to create your own website, so why would another platform earn money from you? Exactly. That's the reason. That's another one of the reasons. And see, like, I don't. You guys can look it up. Just look up how many fees like Udemy takes from you, and you're gonna see that it makes sense not to sell there. As long as you don't have like a huge, like if you're selling, I don't know, 20,000 courses per month, then sure, like Udemy is a great option. But if you're selling like small numbers or relatively small numbers like what we're doing, then it doesn't make a lot of sense. So I'm gonna shift P this one to get it out of the parent group right there. I'm gonna call this eyebrow scalp. There we go. And now we can hide the full character for a little while. And the teeth, very scary teeth. We got this one. What the hell is that? Seems like I duplicated something that I didn't want. And the very important, let's freeze transformation. We don't want to have any sort of like transformation here, no history. So this is like a super clean scalp, and this is where we're gonna start our work. Will I explain about Xgen haircuts a bit in this live? No, CG Spiral. We're gonna be doing like traditional hair, so no spiral. Yes, exactly, Jack. The main face or the big face, if we add that sort of like peach fuzz, that's something that we can do. I'm not gonna add it for this character because this is again supposed to be a game character, so I don't want to make it super heavy. Nowadays, you can use like this type of grooms that we're gonna be doing inside of an engine. You can export the alembic and it will move and deform and stuff. But again, you don't want to like overdo it because it becomes way too much processing power. So with this thing selected right here, we're going to jump into our effects tab, and we're going to go to the Xgen, where is it, or Xgen over here, and we're going to open the traditional Xgen. And here's where the problem starts. We need to understand the difference between a description, a collection, and of course the presets. So when I hit or select the object and create a new description, we're going to get this. Now the description is in itself the groom that I'm doing right now. So this one's going to be dwarf, eyebrows. I always add the desk so that I know that there's a description. And then the collection, we don't have any collection. So I'm going to call this the dwarf collection, or call. So I know that this is the collection where all of my descriptions are going to be saved. And I think this is one of the things that confuses people, because they think that the description is like the big, like top node on the hierarchy, and then the collection is whatever you're working right now. And it's actually, again, the other way around. So yeah, that's it. So I'm going to be using splines. I'm going to be doing randomly across the surface. And this one is the important part. I'm going to be placing and shaping guides. I'm going to say create. And that's it. With this, we have all of the like elements ready to start working on our hair groom. Now, before that, this is another very common mistake. This is the studio, by the way, that I was using. Someone asked about the color. So as you can see, it's a very sort of like flat white color studio. If we look for old face eyebrow, because I want to have this, let's go male. I want to have this sort of like messy, sort of like, not super messy like that, right? But just a little bit messy, kind of like this. I think this is a good reference. We need to know the reference. Very, very common issue that I see with people doing any type of 3D work is that they jump straight into creating whatever it is they want to create, and they don't look at reference. They think, or we tend to think, that we already know all that we need to know about something, when in reality, if we look at reference, we're gonna learn so much more. Like this one right here, this is perfect. Actually, like this guy has like the face of a dwarf. So look at this. We have this very like nice eyebrow going down, and we start with very short hairs, and then we go to longer and longer hairs as we go towards the corner. And of course, they're very messy. They're a little bit curly, so there's a little bit like interesting effect right there. Hanmai saying, how do some people make exact realistic eyebrows? Is it so hard to manually place them if you're using hair cards? Is there any shortcut to like, well, with hair cards, you got to manually place them. Like there's, like if you want the best result, you're going to have to place them. And right now, Hanma, as Jack is mentioning there, we are going to be using curves, and those are the ones that I've seen, or that we're going to be using to control where our eyebrows are going to be. So yeah, this one is also a cool reference. You can also see that as we get further and further to the side of the face, we get less and less fibers. So yeah, let's start. So we're gonna start, of course, with just one. I'm gonna have this on the other side. Mugen, what's up, man? Welcome to the stream. And we're gonna use this button right here, which is the create or move, add or move guides. And I'm gonna create 4 guides. So 1, 2, 3, 4 guides. That's it. When you do this and you click on this little icon right here, the Xgen is going to update. And as you can see, we're going to have a density map. So we're going to start generating these splines that are the hairs. These things are the hairs. And we're going to be seeing how these are like just like created, right? There is a way to mirror splines right here, mirror selected guides. So what I can do here is I'm going to select this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy. And we're going to mirror them on the other side. There we go. And as you can see now, we have hair all over the like front part of our character right there. I feel like my normal map is inverted. I'm not sure why though, because it's supposed to be OpenGL, but whatever. So now that we have these guides, the cool thing about these guides is that they're like curves. So you can right click and go to the control points. And if you modify those control points, you're going to be able to start shaping how these elements are going to look. And here's again where the reference is very important. Because if I look, for instance, at this reference, I can see that the first guide is relatively short and it starts pointing towards the side of the face. So I can start doing this thing right here. Okay. So create my first little guide right there. And push it to the side of the face. Billy, B-Y-M-H, Billy M-H. Welcome, man. Is that M-H from Monster Hunter? Because if it is, I love Monster Hunter. There we go. So now we're going to grab the second guide right here. We're going to do something similar. We're going to just start pushing it. And moving it to generate. You can see that it's a little bit longer. This is one of like the long sort of like eyebrows. And you can even add a little bit of an S shape right there to add variation. And then the third one, this is one of the important ones as well. You can also use soft selection, by the way. So you can press B. And we're going to move this to the side. Then I'm going to remove the B. This is another one of the fancy ones, or the long ones. So let's push it. I'm always going to kind of like keep it close to the skin. Something very interesting happens with hair. Hair kind of absorbs some oil from the face. That's why it remains like close to the face, because the oil kind of like weights it down. So that's what I'm doing here. And then we have the final one over here, which is going to start becoming a little bit shorter and generating this sort of like line right over here. Awesome. What weapon do you main on Monster Hunter? I usually do either charge blade or bow. My brother, he's a hammer bro, and he even has like a hammer tattoo on his arm. He's also a huge fan. Sweet shacks and the the guns, nice. The heavy bow guns, excellent. Did you hear about the Eternal Ascent? Yeah, I saw it, and I participated on the last one, but I didn't have time to participate on this one, to be honest. I'll probably do the next one though. There we go. So now, if we, since we have all of these guys ready, if we click on this icon right here, as you can see, the guides are going to be updated, and we're going to get a sort of like nicer flow of the elements doing this whole thing. So, no, I haven't tried Pal World, not yet. So this is what we get. This is the result that we get. I'm actually going to go to the guides on this side, and I'm going to delete them. And at the end, we're just going to mirror whatever we did on the guides from one side to the other. There we go. Okay. So, because we already have some nice guides. Now, one of the cool things is that you can add more guides. And the more guides you add, the more variation you're going to get. So, for instance, here, I can see that right there at the middle of the character, there's a couple of guides that are going up. And it would be cool to add, for instance, one guide right there. And as you can see, it already interpolates itself and it gets closer to whatever it is you already had on some of the other guides. So it becomes easier. The first guides are the ones that are going to take a little bit more time to create. But after that, it gets a little bit easier to just like add and create the next couple of guides. So for instance, this one, I'm going to make sort of like a short guide right there, but I'm going to point it a little bit more towards the upper side. Same thing, I kind of want to have like a small one right here. So I'm going to add another one right there. And I'm going to move the control points. I'm going to turn on self-selection. This is going to be a short one. And I kind of want to like push it up a little bit like this. So this is, again, one of the important parts, and it's pretty much like when we're sculpting, right? I will tell you guys, when we're sculpting, you guys need to focus on the primary forms, because if you have some good primary forms, then all of the next part of the process is going to be very easy. All of the details and everything is just going to like follow and just like keep going. So now, if we update this, we get this. And yes, we're getting a sort of like the density where we want, but that's not exactly where we want. So we need to paint something called a density map. I'm going to save real quick, by the way. This is the Xgen and a lot of like dynamic stuff is very sort of like unstable. So one of the things that you guys always want to do is you always want to make sure that you save frequently. Okay, because if not, it becomes a little bit difficult. So I'm going to hide the silhouette right here. Let me grab all of the guides, and we're going to duplicate them to the other side. So there we go. We're going to have a very similar groom on both sides. You can see right there. And now I am going to go here to the density. So if we increase the density of the hair, you're going to see we're going to start having way more density on our strands. And I had a discussion with someone on the last Xgen. I'm not sure if it was on the last Xgen or on the Blender like hair thing. And on my courses, whenever I teach hair, I explain that hair will always like taper down. You get like finer and finer like a point, because the outer edge of the hair is exposed to the elements and it kind of gets like damaged, right? So you get a finer point. And he was like, no, hair is always of the same thickness. And even though I presented evidence, the guy was like, no, that's not the way it works. It's like, hey, well, you can believe whatever you want, but this is what we're going to be doing. Yeah, don't ever delete any of the Xgen files. So what I'm going to do here to make this look a little bit more like hair is I'm going to go here to the width ramp, and I'm going to make this in this sort of like teardrop shape. So I'm going to make it a little like a bulbous thing right here, and then this one goes into a tip like that. And as you can see, this starts looking more like hair, which we can see on the reference. That's why I always tell you guys, reference is very important. You can see how hair starts very thick on the root, and it gets thinner and thinner as we keep pushing forward. Thanks for the follow, Anub. So yeah, this is the result right now there for the hair. Now lengthwise, I usually like to keep the length on the on the same length as the guides, but some people like to vary it. And here's where you can use like formulas and things to create like variations. We're gonna keep it simple for now. What we need to do though is we definitely need to add a density mask. So right here on the density tab, there's one option that we can use to create a map. So I'm gonna create a map. I'm gonna call this eyebrow mask. We're gonna start with a black color. I'm gonna hit create. So what this does, if I click on this little icon right here, oh, we're gonna get our first error. What we need to do here is we need to use a basic material. Maya does not like Arnold material, so we're gonna use a Lambert material here. And now if we go to Xgen again, and we paint, we should see the black mask. So what we can do here is we can paint with our brush, like the traditional Maya brush, we can paint the area where we want the hairs to be, which is gonna be this area right there. And I'm gonna do this asymmetrically so we get a little bit of variation. Then I'm gonna go back to a black color. I'm gonna make the brush smaller, and I'm gonna start like, you know, like cutting this to get like the sort of like eyebrow shape. So it's gonna be a little bit denser on this area right there. And then we're gonna kind of like taper it into a tip. Like that. There we go. And very important, you need to save that map. So now, as you can see, all of the hairs that we're creating are only going to be like constrained to that particular area, which is exactly what we want, right? This is giving us the sort of like result that we're looking for. How do I use these guides to use hair cards? Make a game ready for our hair. No, that's not the way it works, Roma. So whenever you are doing, if you want to do hair cards, there's a couple of ways to do it, but the most traditional one is you generate, and there's a what's it? Fiber Shop. There's this software. We're gonna contact them and see if they want to do some sort of collaboration or something. So Michelle, ciao, hi from Italy. Fiber Shop is the software that you can use to generate the hair cards. So it's the same process. This same process you're seeing here, you can do with Xgen. So if you want to use hair cards for fur and things like that, you do the hair cards like this. You generate the hair cards, and once you generate the hair cards, you render all of the passes that you're gonna need. And once you render all of the passes, you need to hand place this, guys. Or there are some automatic tools to place them as well, but you need to like place them where they're supposed to go, and then you create your fur. So it's like I always mention that hair, especially for hair cards, it's 3 steps: is the generation of the cards, the placement of the cards, and then the shading, which will depend on which engine you are using. So this one right here, you can do again exactly this process right here. You can do it inside of Xgen. I might show you how to do it, guys, in a video, because it's not that difficult, and you can save yourself a little bit of money. But if you want to go like a little bit more efficient, like this is really good. Hair cards are not more efficient for engine. Yeah, hair cards are more efficient because you're not calculating every single strand. You're calculating transparency. It's still gonna be a little bit costly. It's not like the cheapest thing, but it's not gonna be as what's the word? It's not gonna be as intense. Okay. So this is what we got right here for the eyebrows. And now what we can do is we can add more guides. So for instance, if I add one more guide right there, and I move this control point forward a little bit, and I make it shorter, right? I can start creating the sort of variation that we saw on the original reference. So now we're gonna have some short elements that are gonna try to go towards it. So it's kind of like they're kind of like affecting the influence of the effect. So if we really like push this to this side, you're gonna see how the hair is gonna try to go that direction. And this is why guides are so important, because they control the behavior of where the hairs are gonna be going. So poly hair is less heavy. Yeah. Hair cards are less heavy than these fibers. Like if you export these fibers, like you were not gonna be able to run these fibers on a mobile game or like a VR game for like Oculus and stuff. However, hair cards are still a little bit expensive. Okay, they're not like the super cleanest ones either. Oh yeah, see, I'm also tired of placing them manually, Roma, but I've done a lot of research throughout the years, and most of the like super top tier artists, they say that that's the best way to do it. So I know it sucks. I know it's very, what's the word? Yeah, it's very obnoxious to do it, but that's the way to do it. Now, here's a little bit of an advanced trick, guys. As you can see, if we take a look at the reference, there is hair on this area, but it also tapers down a little bit, and it's not as dense as the ones on the center. And right now, this is very dense. So of course, that looks a little bit like unrealistic. So we can go here, paint the map again, and not only can we like remove a little bit from this area, right? Like make it a little bit more tapered on the beginning of the eyebrow as well. But we can also go to this guy and use like a mid-gray value or like a dark gray value to add just a little bit of a border right there. And that way, when we save this, we're going to have a little bit of a transition, because that 50% gray is like saying, hey, we want 50% density. Okay, so again, very, very important. It definitely requires more time. And that's why I wanted to do this workshop right now, because I'm not going to feel pressure to finish like a video in like 20 minutes. So yeah. So yeah, Alpha, it's the same thing, man. You just turn on the just turn on the ray tracing, and you're gonna get some nice results. Of course, you can modify some things on the shaders, but that's pretty much it. So yeah, cool. Okay, we got the first step ready, and we got this ready here. Now, another thing you can do if you want to see this, and that's why we had the head of the dwarf, right? So if we turn the head of the dwarf now, as you can see, we're gonna see, or the plane, right? The scalp is gonna be underneath this thing, so the hairs are gonna look a lot more realistic, and we're gonna be able to appreciate how close or not we are to the result that we want. And I think like that's quite nice. I like it. I think this is looking fine for now. Now here's where we can do a little bit of mathematical approach and be like, okay, how much like eyebrows do we have right there? Do we increase the density? Do we make this a lot denser, or do we make this a lot like thinner? And I think we can make it a little bit more dense, so like 26. Here's one of those things that you really need to make like a little bit dense to make it seem like it looks nice. And you can what's the word, you can calculate exactly, like you can Google how much density, hair density we have on the hair, and that's it. Yeah, let me show you real quick, man. Hopefully we don't crash the computer with all of these elements. So this is Marmoset. We are going to have a Marmoset course. I am going to be using Marmoset on the Substance course that's going to be releasing next week. So on the final chapter, when we go over rendering, I show you how to render here. But yeah. So here, let me show you. So this is Marmoset, and right now we have ray tracing enabled, okay? So we have hair cards. These are hair cards. We got subsurface scattering on the orc. We got reflection and refraction on the eye, or an ogre. This is an ogre. So there's a lot of thing going on, and you can see this, right? Like when I move the screen, everything's like pixelated, and when I stop, everything starts like cleaning up because the ray tracing is working and it's doing its job. If I go to the render option, I can turn off ray tracing, and this is what a game engine would see. So this is without ray tracing. As you can see, the shadows are a little bit darker, the colors are a little bit flatter. Even the shadows on the hair look a little bit way too dark because it's not really like calculating all of that bounce light information. And when I turn ray tracing on, everything looks a little bit softer, a little bit more cinematic if you want. So Marmoset is an excellent tool. I actually know a lot of people that don't like Substance, and they texture and render and do everything here inside of Marmoset. Like I think Substance is a better texture tool than Marmoset, but Marmoset is definitely a better render tool than Substance. So yeah. What do you think about Xgen's performance versus Yeti and Houdini? I have not used Houdini. I have used not Yeti but Ornatrix, and I really liked Ornatrix, but the license is a little bit expensive. So from an economical perspective, I don't mind Xgen, to be honest. Okay, so yeah, this is Xgen hair. This are no hair cards. This is hair. The one that we just saw with the ogre, those were hair cards. That was cards, transparency. So, Baron, if you want to check it out, I can see you're on the YouTube chat. So after the live stream's over, go to the YouTube page. And the last video that I published this week is about my opinion on AI. I think AI is going to be a very powerful tool for certain things, but I don't want AI to take control over the creative side of things. So yeah, for instance, where do I use AI? Image upscaling, noise removing, data processing. I use it, for instance, for my subtitle generation when I do my transcripts for my shorts and stuff. So we've been using AI already. It's just that it's the first time that we're actually seeing it take control over the creative side of things, and that's scary. Like, very, very scary. Okay, so now we're gonna start. First, I want to do a little bit of shading before we jump into the modifiers, because if we can see how the shading looks, it's gonna be a little bit easier to like appreciate everything. So let me try a render. Hopefully, I don't break up too much. I did save, so hopefully it doesn't crash. I think it's like, here's the thing, Sarwar, because that's a very valid fear that I've heard about people, right? Like, should I still do 3D? Should I still do art if AI is coming? I mean, traditional photographers still exist. Traditional painters still exist. Traditional sculptures still exist. So yes, the field becomes smaller because other things are easier to do, but I don't think, if this is your dream, if this is your passion, and that's the thing. Let me go full screen because I think this is valuable. I know AI is scary, and as I've mentioned before, it can be very useful. There are a lot of tools that we have been using every day now. Google Maps uses some sort of AI to get you to the best like route in your trip, right? So we shouldn't be scared of AI, but we should be mindful of how we use it and where we let it take control over other things. For the mundane things and for the easy things or things that no one wants to do, then sure. But for the things that we're passionate about, such as art, creation, imagination, we shouldn't let AI decide what looks cool and what's not cool. That's the job of an artist and someone who's really like mastering their craft to create and to come up with the cool ideas that we're gonna see on the next movies. Now, what's the best thing that you can do? Vote with your wallet. If you see a new game that's coming up, even if it's from your favorite franchise and they're using AI, don't buy it. Show them that you don't want or that you don't value those sort of utilizations of AI. If you see a book and you think that the premise is cool, but you realize that the book or the comic book is completely made with AI, don't buy it. Because if you buy it, you're just telling people, hey, I'm gonna support this. And we need to be very mindful of what things we support. So yeah, that's my sort of like my main take, but I don't think AI is gonna be, or I don't think AI is bad. What the hell is going on there? Let's try that again. That's really weird. Okay, well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go here to the description. I'm going to right click and I'm going to assign a new material. I'm going to assign Arnold AI hair material or AI standard hair. Let's see if that fixes it. What the hell? For the purpose of improving portfolio, it depends, man. If you're going to be doing games portfolio, you need to know how to do haircuts. If you're going to do film portfolio, then knowing about grooms is very important. Now, this right here is a very common thing. Like, well, this is not common, but this is very common with things that involve dynamics and things like that, where like certain things just don't work. And to be honest, I'm not sure why this is not working right now. Everything should be in place. We don't have any like history or anything. I'm going to save again. And let's go to Xgen. I'm going to update this again. And let's try one more time. Sometimes it can't just like box out. There you go. So yeah, that's nice. Yeah, I just had to refresh the render. Thank you, Jack. So yeah, as you can see, this is looking, it's fine. It's looking like decent, but we can make this look a little bit better. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to jump to the shot cam. And I'm going to focus a little bit more on just one of the eyebrows, because I know that if one eyebrow looks cool, then the other one's going to look cool. And I'm rendering very low, to be honest. This is 1024. So 1024 is, it's again a little bit slow, but I'm keeping it sort of like low to that so that we can like work with this. And as I mentioned, I want to work a little bit on shaders first. So for shaders, if we go to the shader itself, on the description, where is it? Attribute editor. There we go. The standard hair is very cool. This is one of the things that I was like, wow, like, who came up with this? For instance, we got the melanin, and like this is the thing that I really like about the AI standard hair. It's very sort of like scientific or like reality based. And melanin is the pigment that we have in our skin and that we have in our hair. When you get gray hairs or when people are very pale in their skin, that's because they do not have a lot of melanin. So if you want to have a light color, you can bring this all the way down to 0 melanin, and what's going to happen is now all of the hair is going to be gray hair, like this. So the dark elements that we see right there, those are the shadows. And that's why this type of hair is very powerful, because you're going to get very realistic things in this whole thing. Mike says, AI is the future, not just in 3D null fields. Yes, exactly. Here's the thing, like I'm going to give you an example. When I saw how powerful like ChatGPT was like a couple of months ago, I was like, damn, this is scary. Because my dad, he works a lot with companies. He does like training and it's not motivational speaker. It's more like teamwork and stuff like that. And he helps develop a specific culture. It's a long story. But the point is, he works with a lot of international companies, and sometimes he needs to send PowerPoint presentations that he makes in Spanish, and he needs to send them in English, and he doesn't know English. So most of the time, I would just like grab the PowerPoint and translate word by word or like sentence by sentence and get the whole thing. The last time he asked me to do that, I just grabbed like the whole transcript from PowerPoint, got it into ChatGPT, translated it, read it to make sure that it was like proper English and everything, set it into the PowerPoint, and that's it. It took me like 10 minutes, something that normally would take me like 4 hours. So at that point, I realized, like, what are the translators going to do now? Because this thing can just translate perfectly. Like, it translates context, it translates the information, the words. That's scary. So I'm sure they already went through the panic that we're going on right now as artists, where they saw how dangerous that stuff can be. So what you need to do is, okay, how can I use this tool to give more value to my work? What other value am I going to be offering as an artist in this case, or as a translator in their case, to make sure that AI does not replace me? And it might, because I mean, we've seen this in history, right? The steam wagon replaced the horses. We no longer use horses to pull things, and now we have cars. So there will be some things that will be replaced, and we need to be mindful about that. But we need to be, or rather not mindful, careful about that, to see which ones we allow to be replaced and which ones we fight against being replaced. It's an interesting thing. It's an interesting time we're living in. I'm not gonna lie. So another thing about the hair stuff is that we can randomize the melanin. So we can have a little bit of melanin and then randomize that melanin, and we're gonna get some gray hairs and some brown hairs. What color should this dwarf be? I'm gonna show you guys, because this is a dwarf that I did several years ago. Yeah, that's another thing, man. Roma, you have you like that's one of the best ideas. We need to start worrying about AI and keep on focusing on doing what we want to do. And of course, keep an eye on what's happening on the AI world. But I've seen so many students in the past couple of weeks, when they saw the Sora AI and on all of these like Midjourney things, they were like, "Oh, I'm just not gonna practice anymore. I'm just not gonna do anything anymore." It's like, well, your job is definitely gonna be gone, because you're not doing anything to keep yourself updated, to keep yourself like improving. But if you're still fighting, I'm sure you're gonna be able to find something, even if you have to adapt a little bit of AI into your stuff. So this is the original dwarf that I did. This was 9 years ago, for one of my ZBrush classes. I think it was a little bit over 9 years ago, because it took me a while to update my portfolio back then. But the point is, this is sort of like the style that we're going for. And he had gray hair. But what do you guys think? What color of hair should we have? Can we do a poll, Sarn, on Twitch? Let's vote. Let's people vote. It could be white, it could be red, or it could be black. Let's use those three colors. And you guys are gonna pick the color of the dwarf. This dwarf, by the way, again, it's the one that's gonna be on the substance course thumbnail. So your decision matters here. YouTube guys, I'm not sure if we have a poll on YouTube. Do we have one? I don't see it. Let me see. Oh yeah, we do. I'm gonna do the poll on YouTube. Hair color: red, black, white. There you go. You guys can vote now. So we're gonna see what poll wins on each of the elements on Twitch and on YouTube. We got one vote for red. We got one vote for white. Let's go. Let's go. A mix of those colors. Yeah, we can do a little bit of a mix of those colors. I kind of want to do red. Red sounds like a nice color as well. But let's see what the poll says. There we go. Both polls are up. I got them here on the second screen. Oh, it's gonna be a tight one. Let's do 10 more seconds. 10, 9. Well, no, actually, the poll has a lot of time left. Okay, so I see a sort of like a little bit of a tie between red and white. So let's start playing with the red color, see how that looks, and then we might add a little bit of white to that red color. So again, here you can see that we have the melanin redness. So if we increase that and we increase the melanin when we render, the hair is going to be like really, really intense. I think actually we might need to bring this down a little bit, and let's bring the melanin randomized down. There you go. You can see that we're getting this sort of yellowish color. And as we push this up, we get a little bit more of a red color. There you go. So that's like a dark red color. Green OXO. Hey, thanks for the follow, man. So that looks interesting. Another thing we can do is you can paint the hair. So if we add like a red color right here or like an orangey color, if you feel like you're missing a little bit of saturation, you can definitely go over here as well. And here we can add the randomization. Yeah, it's very even. 42% and 42% on red and white on YouTube, and we got 50-50 on red and white on Twitch as well. So I guess it's gonna be a little bit of a mix of both. Let's go over there then. Okay. Not that. That's like tomato red, so that looks a little bit better. And I'm gonna randomize the melanin. And let's bring this down a little bit. Now, I feel like we need a little bit more density, or maybe a little bit more thickness as well. So let's go back to Xgen. I'm gonna increase a little bit of density. There you go, Duba3D, thanks for the follow, man. And let's increase the width just a little bit to make the eyebrows just a little bit like more dense. There you go. That looks good. I like that. Let's go back here. Let's get rid of the color. There we go. So you can see there, have a little bit of variation of white hairs. Right now, these are not as orange, the ones that are supposed to be orange. So let's bring back some of that orange color. There we go. Let's desaturate this one a little bit. And this is one of those processes that really requires quite a bit of fine-tuning. Let's go white over there and try to play only with this redness. It's tricky to have like really intense reds and not a lot of melanin to get the whites. So we need to bring the melanin down to get the whites. Maybe we can just talk about it now. I was talking with a lot of programmers, 3D artists, and people in gaming industry and opinions. Yeah, it's very divided. It's a 50-50 thing about the AI stuff. It's a very, very, yeah, divided thing. Okay. There we go. So it's just sort of like burnt amber for now. We're gonna keep it like this. We're gonna keep on changing them a little bit more. But I like this result so far. So the next thing that we need to do here with the Xgen stuff is to add a little bit of randomization, right? Because right now, yes, we're following the guides, and yes, we have short elements and long elements. Dubby, thanks for the sub, man. And we need to add just a little bit of more like interesting effects. You can see here again on the reference that we have some things going from one side to the other. And that stuff can be very, very easily added on this element right here called the modifiers. So modifiers are these nodes that we have on the Xgen tool that allows us to modify, well, as the name implies, move certain elements. So I'm going to add here a noise modifier, which is like the most typical one. I'm going to hit OK. And you can see that immediately breaks up the whole thing and allows us to generate a nice effect. We can increase the frequency, which is more noise. You can go really crazy with this, but then it's going to be like a little bit too intense. The magnitude also like changes things quite a bit, quite dramatically. So this is how it works. Now, this thing right here, it's kind of like a curve, like a noise, black and white noise. Thanks, Dube. I'm not a god, but or at least not the god of 3D, but thank you for the kind words. What would I say is a key for realistic hair? The shading. Like making sure you get like this sort of like cool shade right here. Like you can see the difference. Look at this. Shading and variation. So this already looks interesting. And now just by adding the noise, look at that. Doesn't that look really, really nice? Like that's very, very cool. And we're just starting with the modifiers. We're going to be adding more modifiers in just a second. But this already starts looking a little bit more interesting as a hair for the character. So let me do something here because we do have a light, but it's getting a little bit difficult to appreciate what's going on that other side. And rim light is really good to kind of like visualize things in a better light. We're gonna go with a very like big light right here, and let's do, I don't know, like a 12 exposure. There you go. So now we can see like the tips of the hair on this side. Look at how nice this hair starts to look like. Like we got this very like nice dense clump here on the center, and then we taper out on this area and we taper out on this area as well. So that's what we want to create. So yes, Marmoset can render Xgen hair. I think you can export as Alembic and you can render it. I haven't done it yet, but I've seen it recently, and I think you can do it. I'll probably do a video on YouTube as well for that. Okay, let's end the poll. So we get red and white on YouTube. So that's the first one right there, the first modifier. And here, this is very important. Whenever you create a noise modifier like this one right here, you generate this ramp, and this is how it's affecting the root and the tip. So if you want the root to be affected a little bit more by noise, so make it a little bit crazier, you can change the root information here, or it can be like a gradient, like as it gets outer and outer from the root, you get more and more noise. And again, this allows you to generate a nice, like, interesting effect. Now I'm gonna add another modifier here. This is a let's add a cut modifier. This is another very simple one. Where is it? Cut modifier. So the cut modifier, as the name implies, cuts the hair. But one of the things that it has is this little formula. So right now it's cutting every single strand a 0.0 or a 0.2%. If you make this more intense, for instance, if I say I want to do 0.4 and all the way to like 0.8, some hairs are going to be very, very short, like this one's right there, and some hairs are going to remain like quite long. And this is again another very like cool option or cool tool that we have to generate some variation. Well, Maya, what are you doing? Let me turn off this post things. There we go. So let's save another snapshot there, and we can compare. So this one has the cut like element right there, and you can see the difference between this one and this one, where there's a little bit of a reduction in length, because every single hair is randomly being cut a certain percentage, and that also gives it, you know, a little bit more naturality to the whole thing. Aryan, what's up, man? All good. We're doing some hair here with Xgen. Now I do feel like it's a little bit, just a tad bit dense now. So I'm going to go back here to primitives, and instead of 34, I'm going to go 30. So that we remove a little bit of that density. And let's go back to the color, because I feel like it's a little bit too brown. So let's go for a more, like a lighter color here. Yeah, it's a little bit better. I usually add more strays as a modifier. It looked more realistic then. Yeah, of course. Yes, this applies to fur Tasura, but you can use the interactive groom for fur because it's a little bit better for like big clumps of hair. For this one, I think it's like this. Okay, so actually we got the white winning on the Twitch. So let's see if we can bring the melanin down then. There you go. That looks good. It's freaking you out? Let's add some mites. I mean, eyes are one of the super easy things to fix. There we go. We're gonna add just a standard surface here. It's gonna be very glossy and very white. Let's save. Is that better? Sculpt Twitch? Hopefully that's a little bit better. Gaps, bienvenido. Aquí estamos. Yeah, so there we go. And the cool thing is, all of the changes that we're doing to one side of the face, they're working on both sides, right? So if we zoom out and we see the full face, we should be able to see like a very nice hair happening here. Like that, I think looks quite nice. You guys are the judges here, right? But I feel like that looks quite nice. A little bit puffy. Again, I still feel like they're a little bit too dense. And this is why hair and dynamics is a very iterative process. There you go, Maria. Thanks for the sub. Thank you, thank you. Oh, for the gifts. We get a couple of gifts. Dube, ¿no sabías que hablaba español? Vamos a tener que poner un mensaje en alguna parte de este güey es mexicano. Sí, bro, hablo español. Nomás que mucho del contenido que he hecho los últimos años ha sido en inglés justamente para pues para llegar a una audiencia un poquito más mayor, ¿no? So, yeah. Of course I speak Spanish. When you're doing the width of the hair, why don't you ending with a tip? Yeah, it's a tip right here, man. This is the width of the hair. What you saw right here was the noise. So this noise right here is how the noise is affecting the root and the tip of the hair. So we have more noise on the tip and less noise on the root. But if we go back to the primitives here on the width ramp, you can see that we have this. And we can even taper it a little bit. And yeah, I agree. I think the shading looks like on point. I don't think I want to change anything on the shading for the character. But I do want to... I'm not sure. What do you guys think? Should we add more hair on this area? Because I feel like there's too much empty area between the eyebrows. How do you animate the Xgen? There's a couple of options, but here, again, on the modifiers, you can add a dynamic modifier. I really haven't done that as much, to be honest, because it's I don't do a lot of animation, but you can see here we got the force animation, directional force animation. So when you attach this to a character and you animate the character, like you animate the character first, right? And then you do all of the simulations on top of it. So once you have the character moving, you just import the groom and use some of these modifiers so that it moves with the character in a sort of like realistic way. World Skills Competition? No, Ariane, I haven't heard about that one. Add small fine hair. Yeah, and that's what we're gonna do in just a second. I mean, the eyebrows in this reference, I don't see a lot of like single like hairs, but we can add a second expression to like work with this thing right here. But in this particular case, I think I'm gonna go back to the density map, and I'm just gonna expand it a little bit so that we get a little bit closer to this area. So let's hide this one second. Let's grab our scalp and paint. And I'm gonna paint a little bit more 50% gray on this area right here, and a little bit more 50% gray on this area right here. We save, and there we go. So now we get a little bit more hair. I think that's a little bit too much there, so let's go back to black. And again, kind of like a pointy bit, right? We can even do like, instead of 50%, like 25%. So it's not exactly black, but it's almost there. And then we save. There we go. That's a little bit better. I'm still gonna paint out some of this stuff right there, because I don't like this hairs on the lower side of things. So there we go. Noshpakorvalol. Noshpakorvalol. Thanks for the follow, man. A little bit more hair. Okay, yeah, we can do that. We can add a little bit more density here. There we go. And yeah, let's save this. Bring the face back. Save the whole Maya scene. And let's give this a shot. Yeah, that's better. So now we get the hair on this area right here. So now it doesn't look like there's such a big gap between the eyebrows and the main eyebrows here. So yeah, that's cool. Okay, that's a good, I think, a good blocking for the eyebrows. Now I think we can start working on the blocking for the beard and for everything else. And again, I really like this reference. I think this guy like embodies the character that I'm looking for. So let's start with the mustache. Actually, let's start with the beard, because we've already done the mustache on the YouTube channel, so you can see that very easily. So let's start with the beard. And whenever I'm doing hair, one of the things that you need to understand is that there's different like types of hair within a beard, right? So we're gonna have like the long beard that's gonna be like from the center down, and then we're gonna have this sort of like transitional hairs on the border, right? There's also gonna be like some crazy hairs. We call them flyaways in certain parts. So you can have multiple descriptions. Like you don't need to control everything from the same description. Is Yeti a lot different than Xgen? In principle, no, Maria. It's very similar. It's still like controllers and nodes and things like that. But yeah, it's a little bit. It's just like a little bit different. I haven't used Yeti. I've used Ornatrix, which is like the competition. Because I think there's an issue with Yeti, that Yeti cannot sell its software in the United States due to some licensing stuff. So if you're in Canada, you can use Yeti. If you're in like Europe, you can use Yeti. But yeah, do you have any Unreal Engine streams planned? No, we don't have any, but that's actually not a bad idea. Okay, let's go to the right view here, and let's go for the beard. So I'm gonna go again to face mode, lasso selection tool, and we're gonna select all of this section, which is gonna be the beard. We're gonna go modeling. And we're going to do edit mesh and duplicate. We're going to push this in a little bit. Like that. Then we're going to shift P to get it out of the element. We're going to assign just the basic like Lambert material. And we actually don't need the whole like mouth. So this is one of the big advantages of having like clean topology, that we can just delete everything right here. Let's delete one more loop. There we go. Do you know about the technique where one base color has at least 5 variation of realism? I'm not sure I have seen that, Aryan. Varjasin, yes, we're definitely gonna divide the beard in multiple parts. It's very difficult to control everything from just one single one. I use Topogon. I use Maya a lot as well, but I've been using Topogon recently. It's amazing. It's really good, guys. We're gonna talk about that one soon as well. When you're doing hairs to game, you can't. No, you cannot do this with Xgen, my friend. But nowadays you can actually bring Xgen into Unreal and move it like hair and everything. So it's of course heavy, but it can be done. Let's say real quick. So now we have this other one. We're gonna go back to the Xgen tab and we're gonna click on this again, and we can go to description, and I'm gonna use this create description. So this new description, as you can see, it's already on the dwarf collection, and I'm gonna call this beard primary description. Again, placing and shaping guides. There you go, Gaps. Thanks for the sub, man. Topogon course incoming? Maybe. Retopology course incoming. It's a little surprise that we got there. It's a big surprise, so it's gonna be fun. but I need to finish the substance course first. I don't want to get ahead of myself. There we go. So yeah, this is the stuff right here. And if we again take a look, like I like the color and the shape of this guy's beard, but I think it's a little bit too crazy. So let's look for beard long. And let's look for some interesting shapes right here. I'm not gonna do like braids or anything, and I don't want to have just like a straight beard like this. So I want a little bit more of a crazy beard, not crazy like this. I've always told my wife that when I retire, I'm gonna grow my beard like this, and I'm gonna become like a Santa mall or mall Santa, where I dress as Santa for Christmas. That's gonna be fun. I'm doing great, that one artist. Welcome, welcome. So let's look a lot of like this looks a little bit better, I think. More biking. Let's look beard long biking. Because of course Vikings are a huge inspiration for dwarves, right? Like we cannot deny that. But I don't want to have like a super clean groom like this one. I feel like that's a little bit too clean. This looks a little bit better. What do you guys think? Like maybe like this, but just like a little bit broader. That could work. Is there a retopology course there, a modeling course? No, I mean, I have the Maya course, which is a basic modeling course, and the Blender course as well. But I'm gonna have a specific like retopology course to show how to retopologize, and I'm fighting to get Saria. You remember Saria, the sci-fi girl that I did last year? I'm fighting to get that girl back so that we can use that character for retopology, because that I think was a cool model. So yeah, there we go. This is what we want. So as you can see, we got a very sort of like clean line, and it's a lot of like messy beard going down. And this is what we need to build right here. So I'm gonna start with my guides. So I'm gonna create some guides. Oh, sorry, over here, create some guides, and we're gonna create 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There we go. You want to try to keep it simple, because as I've mentioned before, once you place the first couple of guides, the next ones become a little bit easier to control. I'm gonna start with this one, and let's go a little bit long right there, and let's just play with the shape. We're of course gonna be mirroring these guides to the other side in just a second. I don't want this to be super long beard, because we have the armor that I'm not gonna spoil right now. It's gonna be a surprise for next week. But this is one of the things that we can definitely do. There we go. Now that one's part of like the mustache. It's not the mustache. We're gonna have the mustache later. It's kind of like one of those like small little hairs that is kind of like mustache beard sort of thing. So I gotta be careful with this one, because it's gonna be here on the side of the mustache, but it's not the actual mustache. I know, but I always messed up. Is there like a workflow? Yeah, there are certain guidelines, Andres. So if you just Google like retopology face, retopology body, you're gonna see a lot of guidelines and loops, the important loops for a character. This is important for characters, and that's a very important question. A lot of people think that topology is important for everything. It's only like really important for things that are gonna deform. If you're not gonna deform something, if you're gonna have like something that's gonna be very just like a static asset, like a column or like a wall, topology doesn't really matter. Like I've seen horrible topology in AAA games. You're like, what the hell? How did they allow this? It's because it really doesn't matter. That's the truth of it. Now, when you're in school and when you're learning, of course, they're gonna tell you, oh, you have to have really clean topology all the time. But in reality, characters and like again, movable or deformable objects are the only like important things that need to have the topology like clean. Quick question, why do we do specific parts of the face and not the whole face if we're going to be doing eyebrows, hair, and in some cases peach skin effect? To have more control over it, Gaps. That's the main idea. We want to have a little bit more control over it, and usually when you rig, you're not gonna like, you don't want to have all of the topology attached to specific parts, because if then you like do other sort of like processes, it becomes again a little bit more difficult to control. It's sort of like a way to do things modularly, and again have more process control. Which, going back to the AI discussion that we were having earlier today, that's one of the reasons why AI, and someone did an amazing video yesterday. I forgot to share it, but there was this animator that took one of the Sora AI videos of this little creature, like a brown like fur creature doing stuff, and he pointed out all of the things that a client would normally ask you to change, and as long as the AI cannot change those things, it has no chance to replace animators and the traditional pipeline. There we go. Let's take a look. Yeah, that seems about right. Let's look at door. Where's door? Door, where are you? There you are. Yeah, that looks good as a, again, as a quick reference from this one. I feel like we're in a good position right there. Is there a link to this video? Like this one in particular? It's going to be on YouTube tomorrow. So if you missed the first part of the video, everything's going to be on YouTube. Oh, the AI video? Yeah, I made a video on YouTube as well about my opinions about the AI world. And the one that I'm talking about, the animator, I haven't seen, I haven't found, like, I forgot to share it yesterday, but if I find it again, I'll share it. Let's grab this one right there. There we go. AI was designing a goblin character and considering its hairstyle. I paused my work for a moment because I wasn't sure how to do the hair, and then here you are. There you go. Oh no, Asai was designing a goblin character and considering its hairstyle. I paused, and well, welcome, Shabinsha. See, that thing that you're saying right there, dysentery, that's exactly the argument I was having with a guy on YouTube yesterday. When I was explaining that point, I was like, hey, AI is not creating anything. It's just like finding like the common denominator of things and bashing together what it thinks resembles the prompt the best. And he was like, oh yeah, but that's exactly what we do as humans, because you cannot create in a vacuum. You need to study and you need to gather your own reference. And it's like, I mean, yes, but there's a different type of like thought process that goes into the thinking. And I mean, at the end, everyone is entitled to their own opinions, and sometimes you will not get to a common agreement. And you might be right, you might be wrong. I don't know. That's the main point. When is the next portfolio review, Shadowping? That's going to be on March. So on March 1st, which is going to be next Friday, if I'm not mistaken, we're going to open up the submissions on the Discord channel. And the next one should be, again, if I'm not mistaken, on March 22. Okay, so March 22 is going to be the next portfolio review. Let's do a mirror here. There we go. Nice, nice, nice. Okay, so that looks cool. I like this. Again, first, like construction of the beard, but we again have the little bit of an issue where we're getting beard from all over the place. So we're getting beard from like the nose over here and stuff like that, and that's not something that I want. So we're gonna go back to our, where is it? Let's hide this guy. We're gonna grab this guy. Oh, there we go. Let's rename this. I forgot to rename this. This is gonna be beard scalp. And now we're gonna paint a density mask. So we're gonna go to this little arrow right here, create a map. This is gonna be beard primary mask, and this is gonna be a black mask. Very important to name everything, because that's a very common issue with Xgen, naming convention like being messed up. And let's hey, where's the mask? I think I messed up something. Give me 1 second. Reset to a slider. Mask. The hell? Uh-oh, it's gonna crash. No, it's not gonna crash. Okay, let me save. Create map. beard primary mask. It's gonna be black. And we create. There we go. Now we can paint. Perfect. Okay, so let's grab that one right there. And we are going to go to our brush and paint white. Cool. Okay. So the beard, of course, is going to be in all of this segment. Let me turn on wireframe unshaded so that we can see. So not the mouth. I'm going to leave a little bit of an empty space right there. All around here. A little bit close to the mouth, but not too much. Right around here. Go up the jaw, a little bit underneath the jaw, but again, not too much. Because then it's going to be a lot of interpolation that we don't want. Again, the little padding. So you can use symmetry, but I like not using symmetry so that we get a more sort of like natural look. Remember that in 3D, it's very common to get things to be very clean. So if you can add that little variation, that's a good way to make sure your stuff looks just a little bit nicer. Okay, now we're gonna go to like 50% gray. And we're gonna add a little bit of beard on the border. Same thing here. That way we're gonna be kind of like fading out the beard. And then I'm gonna go with black again to remove some of this stuff right there. By the way, these maps right here, you can paint them in Substance. Like, you don't need to paint them here using the Maya tools. I'm just using it because it's a little bit easier right now. But you can definitely do this in other softwares, Photoshop, like, up to you. Let's paint a little bit of gray in this area as well. Have you seen the animation released by Gnomon? They use Xgen very well. Yeah, Gnomon has amazing tutorials. I would know about that because I went there. When you go to Gnomon, when you're a student at Gnomon, you get the free access to all of the courses, which is really cool. So you get like a license to the Gnomon workshop. So if you're taking your classes and then you want to learn even more, you can take. At least it was that way when I was there. So it was very cool because you could, again, be taking classes, and then if you needed help, you could just go and watch some of the tutorials. How can you simulate animate Xgen cards inside of Maya? I really would love to learn something. I'm not sure we're going to be able to cover it in this tutorial right here, guys, but I promise we're going to do like a simple wing animation or like a head moving to one side of the other animation during the next month, okay? During March. I attended in person one artist. I went from 2013 to 2016, 3 years. So my certificate, right? There you go. Abraham Leo, for the completion of the Entertainment Design and Digital Production Program of Gnomon. Date of completion, March 2016. So, it is crazy expensive. It was not as expensive when I went there. The dollar was not as as aggressive back then. And I did work for a couple of years before going there. So I saved money as well. But I cannot deny that there was a lot of help from my family. I have the fortune of having family in Los Angeles, so I stayed with them. That saved me a lot of expenses as well. So yeah. But that's why I'm do what I do, because I know that not everyone's gonna have the same opportunity, and I like being able to share this opportunity that I have and teach people about the stuff that I also learned about. But here's the thing: I graduated in 2016. That was 8 years ago. 8 freaking years ago. So a lot of the things that I teach now, it's not the same thing that I what's the word? It's not the same things that I learned. I've been learning so much since then. So yeah. Okay, let's take a look. Let's save and let's take a look at this thing. There you go. So that's looking a little bit better. We're still getting some crazy hairs right there. Let's get rid of this. So I'm not sure why though. Search, okay, see, we're getting an error here. It says that it's looking for polysurface 3.ptx and it's not finding it. The beard primary mask. So that means that this thing right here is not working. So let's open it. Here, descriptions. Xgen. Elections. No, why are you going there? Oh, it crashed. Okay. Again, very common. No worries, we saved. So no big deal there. Yeah, there's a lot of talent at Nomen. Nomen has been... I've heard they call it like the Harvard of the 3D world. So... I agree, there's so many like talented students from there. No, I don't need you to recover. I'm gonna open my file. Okay, see here you can see that the project's not set. So first thing that we need to do is of course set the project. Let's go here to substance and right there. Scenes, we got the hair chrome. There we go. So again, I'm not sure what the issue is. Let's delete. Oh, I see. Nah, this is a vague issue. I forgot to delete the scales, and that could definitely like mess things up. So over here, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to reset back to a slider, and then I'm gonna create a new mask. So create map. I'm gonna call this beard primary. Well, actually before that, let's cancel that. Ideally, we will need to rename this to beard scalp. Let's see if it lets us, because we already created the description. And Xgen is one of those things that it's very finicky. So if you mess something up, everything messes up. Okay, so let's again create a map. Yes, create a map. Beard main, call this V2 mask, and set this to black. Okay, now let's go to the paint tools. So if we go to, it's very weird that we're not getting the little like pencil thing. Action. Let's see. UV. It's not the paint effects tool. Where is it? It's also not the paint vertex color tool. Paint transfer, paint reduce weights, no. Huh. Can Xgen generate? Yeah, you can generate hair cards. I've seen some people do that where they use Xgen to generate the cards and technically save a little bit of space, but yeah, it's one of those things that I feel like if you like hand place, it's a lot easier. Oh my god, I can wait. Do you remember I had shown you my vintage car and I had said that they will be working on characters? I fell and started working on that. Yeah, you can get to wait a review. Yeah. If you submit your stuff for the review, I'll be happy to see it. I would love to. Okay, let me figure out what's going on here because I feel like I messed something up on the creation of this beard scalp. Okay, so in this cases, to be honest, I'll just like delete the whole scalp and we just scrape it. Like I'm just gonna start a new description. So over here, we're also gonna delete the bird primary description. So we're just gonna be left back with our traditional description here with the eyebrows that was working fine. So let's go back here to this guy. Let's isolate it again. Right view. Let's go with our lasso tool. I'm sorry that I'm having to backtrack here, but this is part of the what's the word, of the work tool sometimes. Let's go edit mesh and duplicate. push this in just a tad bit. Shift P that one. And here's where I think I made my mistake. This surface needs to be very clean, which means no translation information and proper name. So I'm going to call this beard scalp. I'm just going to mention or name it V2 in case we don't get a sort of like problem. What's the best way to learn about character topology? Our next course, the topology course that I'm going to be releasing next month, that's probably going to be one of the best ways to learn, because I'm going to be showing you all of the necessary things that you need to know about topology. So yeah, probably that. But if not, just go online, go Google face topology, arm topology, chest topology, and see why and where the loops of the body are, so that you can do that. Okay, so here again, we're gonna go to Xgen. Here, we're gonna create a new description. It's gonna be beard description B2. Placing and shaping guides, randomly splines. Yep, all that's good. Okay, and let's add some points. 1, 2, 3. Let's start with just very short beard. I want to make sure that this works before we continue. So yeah, right around there. Okay, now I'm gonna grab all of the guides, because we can always delete and add more guides, so I'm not worried about that. And we're gonna mirror them. Perfect. So let's save. And if we see the hair, yeah, as you can see, this is the problem, right? Like, we're getting hair everywhere. Let's go back to the geometry. Let's delete all of this geometry. Okay. Let's do that again. Messed it up again. Okay, so I'm going to explain why this is a problem so that you don't have this issue later, okay, guys? And I'm sorry again for backtracking so much. The problem here is that every time you have a geometry and you assign the next generation, it finds all of the faces and it creates like a table of all of the elements it needs to know about where each face is. So then if I do this, which is modify the original topology of the mesh, you mess up that table and it doesn't know where things are anymore. This is why they tell you never rig a character and then go back and delete geometry, because it's going to mess up the rig, because it happens very similar with skin clusters. Skin clusters will assign specific information to the faces, and when you remove faces, the order of faces changes and it messes everything up. So again, I'm just going to go to this description, delete it again, and over here, create a new description. Now here I'm changing the name because if I name it the same, so if I say beard description, it might have an issue with the names. Let's try it. No, in this case it worked. So again, we add some guides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's add those guides right now. 9. Let's save and let's check the preview. Okay, see, so that looks a little bit better. But I still need to paint the mask, so let's remove this. I'm gonna turn off geometry so I can just select the guides. Not letting me. Oh, interesting. It thinks it's geometry. Okay. So we grab this, we mirror to the other side. Check it out. Okay, that's looking close to what we want, but not exactly. Save again. We grab this guy, proper name, no history over here, proper like topology amount. So now technically we should be able to go here to the mask and create a map. Call this main beard mask, and this is going to be a black mask. Hit create. Perfect. Okay, see, so that now works. So technically, gonna paint white. We're gonna paint all of the places where we want the beard, just all of this we've mentioned before. There we go. like this. Then we're gonna, again, switch to gray color, go in the border, so we get like a fade. And then even if we need to go black here, to remove some of this elements where we don't want to have as much beard. There we go. Let's hit save and let's see if it works. Yes, it did. Okay, cool. Finally. Again, sorry for the back and forth. This one, let's get it out there. Again, delete history, first transformations. Perfect. Cool. So yeah, now as you can see, we got this short beard right there. We can increase the density. And right now it's just gonna look ridiculous, right? But even here, you can already start adding like modifiers just to get an idea. So I'm gonna add just like a quick noise modifier. Let's go to our primitives, and we can change the length even. It's just gonna look, again, ridiculous, but no, it's gonna crash. Don't crash. Please don't crash. I'm pretty sure it's gonna crash. This is a difficult thing with dynamics, guys. This is why a lot of people get like desperate about the whole thing. Did it survive? Oh, it survived. Okay, save. Immediately save. So, okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn off the preview, and again, let's go to the guides right here. Let's delete these guides, and we're gonna start playing again with the control points here. So I like to always do this sort of like S shape for my beards, for everything, pretty much an Xgen. Yeah, this is a wild ride, guys. But here's the thing, like that's the thing that you guys don't see with the courses and the videos that I do for YouTube. Like the other day that I was doing the armor thing for ZBrush, that was the 4th time I recorded the video because it was just like not working. I messed something up, ZBrush crashed, we got an error, like something. The substance course, you guys have no idea how many times I need to record some of the videos sometimes because I'm doing something and it crashes, or I'm doing something and then the tool doesn't work and I need to pause it and I need to troubleshoot why it works. So I like this live streams because this show a more real like thing of why 3D production is so expensive sometimes, because there's a lot of back and forth. Like you're not going to get the result from the first time. Even though I've done this process several times already, every time you do it, you might find something slightly new, slightly different. And of course, in a course or in a video, I cannot include that because it brings the value down, right? Like people are just gonna stop watching or they're not gonna buy it. But for this live streams, this is a more real like example of how production works. Like sometimes I'm retopologizing and the software crashes and you lose 2 hours of work. Hey, that's how it works. Einsmark, thanks for the follow, man. Yeah, I got like a reflex now. The other day I went to the university to do some like teaching, and I was drawing some things on the board, and I promise, guys, I'm not being like a freaking exaggerated. I promise that I was drawing in my hand. I was drawing on the whiteboard and my other hand was right here, and I immediately tried to do a Control-C on my hand because it was just like automatic. It's like I was trying to erase something, and instead of erasing it, I tried to do a Control-C, and I felt so stupid. It's like, oh, come on, man. This is not how the world works. Sometimes we're way too comfortable with the tools right here. No, I don't have a Threadripper. When I built this computer like 2 years ago, and I didn't have enough money to buy the Threadripper. But hey, maybe we'll get some sponsors soon, and we can buy like a freaking amazing computer to avoid having this CPU or GPU crashes. No, I have a Ryzen 7 580 or 5800. So it's a good one. It's not a bad one. But it's not a Threadripper. Like, I mean, right now we got Photoshop open, we got Maya open. I'm streaming on both sides, on 2 sides, so it's YouTube and Twitch. and I can work. So it's not a bad CPU. And I always tell you guys, it's important to use the resources that you have. Like, don't put the resources as the excuse of what you can't do, because that's another very common thing. Students are like, oh, but I don't have a tablet, I cannot use ZBrush. Well, tablets are cheap. You might want to save for that one, because that one is indeed important. But hey, well, if you cannot do ZBrush, you can still do modeling. You can still do texturing. You can still do rendering. So there's other things that you can do for that. Sometimes when I'm doing something stupid for a couple of seconds, I think that I should press Control-C. Yep. Control-C on the whiteboard. Okay, let's save real quick. Let's take a look at this. Yeah, that looks good. That looks good. It's a short beard. It's wavy right now. We already have a little bit of noise, so of course I'm seeing that. That's good. So let's just grab all of the guides. Again, mirror them to the other side. Look at that. Not bad, right? Not bad. Okay, so now let's do some fixes here. Let's start with the root fix. So we're gonna taper the beard as it goes towards the tip. Like this. There we go. You can smooth this out even if you want to. Now I am gonna add a couple more modifier CB counts on this one. I'm gonna make this 8. This is going to give more points to the curve, so it's going to be a smoother curve, but it's also a little bit heavier. I'm only doing this because the hair is longer, so I feel like we're going to need this for this particular beard right here. So right here now, what I'm going to do is I am going to go to the modifiers, and on the noise, let's start playing with this. We can check the dwarf. So the dwarf had, on the noise, it was 10 and 2. Let's try that and see how that looks. However, again, the size is a little bit different, so it might be... we might get a little bit of a different result. Yeah, so as you can see, we're not getting too much noise here. So I'm going to change the magnitude to like an 8. There we go. That's a little bit more messy. It might be a little bit too messy, so let's do 6. 1, 2. As you can see, the frequency is not really changing too much. But here's one thing we can do. We can change how it affects the root and the tip. Remember, like if we want more noise on the root, we push this up. I'm gonna push this a little bit up right there, and I might bring the tip down a little bit. I don't want to have too much like noise on the tip. No, Mike, we're not gonna do haircuts today. This is just the hair system right here. And how do I see it compared to the Blender hair system? The Blender new hair system is a little bit closer to this system, because before that, the way to do hair was with particles, and I don't like doing particles. So this one, or the new groom system that they have, is definitely a little bit closer to what we're seeing right here. However, I still feel like this is a little bit more powerful. Blender is an amazing software, and you can do really, really cool stuff. But there's a reason why Maya is still like the top production software. And it's because it has a lot of animation things that Blender is still not there. For modeling, sculpting, and rendering, you can do amazing things in Blender. Better than in Maya, like by far. But for animation, rigging, and the deformation, I still think Maya is way more powerful. But again, that's my experience and my opinion. Let me just check my messages real quick. I don't want to see an angry client in a couple of minutes when the stream finishes. And by the way, guys, as I've mentioned, if you have not been following me, we're almost at 11,000 followers on YouTube. That's really, really some big numbers. And the best way you can support the channel so that we can keep doing this is checking our premium courses. So, Sarn, if you can link the site right there, that would be great. Very well. The Blender... No, I'm a Blender user as well. When I need some fast renders and clean renders, Blender is also a really, really good way to do it. Okay, so I can definitely see some guides that I want to fix. Because right now, like this cut that I see right there, it's not what I see right here. So I'm probably going to sharpen. You can see, like on this one, see how we get this sort of like round effect along the side of the hair. So let's turn off the effect right there. Let's go to the curves again, and I'm gonna go over here. Same for this one. Now usually the lower guides in this case are gonna be a little bit longer than the upper guides. It's not always, but sometimes. Yeah, so see that cut right there? That's looking a little bit better. I'm still gonna increase it a little bit more. That one's a little bit too short. And then over here, I kind of, again, well, actually, it's actually not that far from the reference. So once I'm happy, I'm gonna grab all of the guides over here. We're gonna delete them again, and then just grab all of these guys and mirror them once more. That's a cleaner. That's a clean beard. If I ever grow my beard that big, probably something like this looks a little bit better, or this looks closer to what I would like to have. We might need to increase the intention over here. This direction from one question, we're already mentioned that Maya is better for this stuff. Just asking for the people who can't afford Maya. Yeah, well, no, it's totally fair, man. And here's the thing. I'm not sure if you know, but Maya has an indie license available that's way cheaper than the main license. That's the one that I have, and I think it's quite affordable. I think it's like $400 or something. So if you divide that by 12 months, it's like $30 a month, and you get access to, like, I'm not going to say professional tools, because Blender is also quite professional. You can do professional work with Blender. I'm just saying that, like, the industry works one way for one reason, right? So if you want to be in the industry, you got to follow some of the rules of the industry. And in this case, Maya being one of the standards is one of those rules. It's the same thing I mentioned about Photoshop. I hate paying $30 for Photoshop every month so that I can keep my license up. But, like, if you ask someone to edit an image, it's very weird they're gonna say, like, oh yeah, let me GIMP it. It's not GIMP, it's like, let me Photoshop it, right? So Photoshop is the standard for a reason, and I feel like it's even though it might not be the best practices, I feel like it's good. However, for instance, if you want to do texturing and you don't want to pay a license for Substance, well, Marmoset is a good alternative. If you want to do Retopo and you don't want to pay a license for Maya, well, you might be like contemplating buying Topogon, and that's it. You just buy it once and you get the license forever. Yeah, exactly. Maria is saying if you're a student, you can register as a student version and you can do a lot of stuff. Technically, you're not supposed to do commercial work with a student license, but for portfolio and for just like learning, there you go. That's another good option. Now, let's go with one more thing, and I think this is, what's the word? Getting some bad news from the freaking clients. I have to deal with that in just a second. Well, not the clients, with the museum. So clumps. We need to work or take a look at clumps. Let's do the cut one real quick. This one's gonna like break up some of the uniformity that we have right now. And I'm gonna make this clump or this cut a little bit more aggressive, so like 0.05, so that we get even more aggressive, I think. Can we do like from a 2 to a 5? Yeah, that's better. Look at that. So if we do a random cut from 2 to 5.5, as you can see, some of them are going to be really short, and some of them are going to be a little bit longer. And this is the kind of stuff that we wanna get. So yeah, let's go right there and right there, and there we go. That's looking good. The hair gives so much personality. Yeah, the hair is one of the most important things about a character. And here's the thing. When you're doing like character design, a very common thing for character designers is to do bald characters or characters with very like hair very close to their face. So like this are like cuts. I think this is AI, by the way. So like this very like traditional cuts, this very simple cuts. It's very common to see that. In 3D characters, you see this even more. That's why a lot of people do zombies and goblins and orcs, because most of them are bald and the hair is hard. So doing hair is definitely hard. I did that when like some of my first, and a lot of my characters actually, like even Thyros. One of the reasons why Thyros was bald on that course was because I was gonna teach hair, and I taught hair, but it was gonna be way more time to teach like a proper hairstyle on the top. So a good way to hide hair is using helmets, using hats, using like cowls or something. Like demons, usually demons are hairless. because again, hair is tricky. Aliens, a lot of aliens. Look at this, like 3, 4 of my aliens right here, no hair, because hair is tricky. But it does give a lot of personality to the character. So if you can do it, if you can spend the extra time to do it, it's gonna give you a nicer result. So clumps is one of those tricky areas that that people struggle with, because it's a little bit different than how you do all of the other modifiers. So I'm going to add a clump modifier right here. And as you can see, immediately after I add it, I get a warning that there's no clump guides, because you need to go down here and you need to set up a map for the clumping. Similarly to how we set up the clumping map for the other one, we're going to use this one. So I'm going to use, like, if I just do this and I just hit generate, this is what's going to happen. We're going to get this clumping guides, and these are the guides where the hair is going to clump. It's going to try to, again, oil tends to do that with the hair. It clumps it together and you get this like specific element. So I'm going to keep it by default like a high clumping value right here, but you could even do like clumping by like using the original guides that you painted as the clumping mask. So I'm going to hit save on this one. And now you can see that the hairs are clumping even more. If I make this like really intense, like 10, and I clump the root and the tip quite heavily. Let's see if we can get it to show the way I want it to show. Let's go with 1. You can see it. You can see how hair is starting to kind of like clump together. See that? And those little yellow guides that we saw before, those are the guides that are controlling where the clump is working. So clump is really good. It's one of a very good way to generate this effect where the beard doesn't look as bad. The reason why this happens, again, people get freaked out a little bit when they're doing Xgen. It's because when you're not seeing the fibers, Xgen will not render the fibers. So you need to see like the full character and then hit the preview, and now you're gonna see them back. But you can see the difference. This is with no clumping, and this is with clumping, and there's a little bit of clumping going on that's gonna give you a more realistic sort of effect. Now I'm just going to grab the beard description, and I'm going to right click and assign the same AI standard hair material that we have, or there we go, the white sort of like material. Let's save real quick, and let's take a look at the render. Well, let me first focus it properly. So let's go to the shot cam, panels, and look to select. There we go. Let's wait for the render. And there's no render. Again, remember, this is it's on the that sucks. That's horrible. Look at that. Imagine biting all that hair. Ugh. Oh no. Let's save real quick. Let's close the render right there, and we need to just do a quick update. Yeah, that's nightmares, man. That's nightmare material right there. Alright, no, and let's render again. There we go. So that looks good. I still feel like we can increase the noise density, but the shader looks good. And even though it looks very noisy, right, because it's a relatively low quality render, we're getting something nice there. I think it's a little bit short now. I think the beard's definitely short, but I don't want to make the guides longer, so I'm just gonna go here and I'm gonna increase the length on the length modifier. So that way we keep the same guides, but we just make the beard a little bit longer. Now, I also think that it's not as dense. We definitely need a little bit more density. This is looking a little bit too like clean. So let's try that. So let's go here. Density, if you remember, on the eyebrows, we had 37 density. So it should be close to that here on the beard. So let's increase this to 37 density. Now, here's one one little tip about Xgen, because if you're doing hair, it's gonna become a little bit like heavier on your scene. On the preview output, you can preview a lesser percent. So we can preview like just like, I don't know, 25%. And here on the preview or on the window, on the viewport, you're only gonna be seeing 27% of the full density of your element. But here on the render, we're gonna see the full density. There we go. That's a little bit better, as you can see right there. That's way better. Okay, now I think we're gonna finish with this next description, guys, because I need to solve a couple of issues here on the studio. But you can see that right now the border of the beard, even though it looks good, right? It looks like it's coming out of the face of the character. It's very obvious that we're starting with very long hairs, and even some of these long hairs, the root is fine, but this long hairs it just looks a little bit weird. So I'm gonna go back to the beard scalp, this one right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create something called a transitional description, which is going to be another description of hair that we're going to be using that's going to help to transition from this very long beard hairs to smaller hairs. So I'm going to start with, I'm going to go over here and add a new description. Select the polygons, add a new description. This is going to be called beard transition description. And again, placing and shipping guides, create. We're going to go to this one and we're going to start up here. So we're going to start short, like very close to the border of the hair. And then we're going to go a little bit longer on the second row. Like that. So again, we got to be a little bit patient and just like shape this. And there's this, again, one of the secrets. This is one of the big secrets about the 3D world, which is layers. If you create layers of materials, layers of details, layers of hair, layers of models, layers are what we're going to be doing. Well, Gaps, I got some good news for you, because the skin that you're seeing right here is the skin that we're going to be painting on the next course that's going to be releasing next week. So that's the substance course, and that's chapter 3, skin. So chapter 1, we do a very cool sword, the dwarf sword, of course. And then chapter 2, we do armor. And then chapter 3, we do skin. And then chapter 4, we do heavy armor. And a prop, a shield. And then chapter 5, we do render. Export and render. I'm going to show you how to render in Maya, how to render in Marmoset. So all of the softwares, Blender, all of the common softwares that we normally do. Okay. We're going to grab all of the guides. Going to mirror them to the other side. You can see all of those guides there. Again, they're going to be like the transitional hair guides. And if we see that, right now they're, of course, giving us a little bit of mustache, right? Which is not what we want. Let's save real quick. Let's grab again the beard scout. Let's go over here. And on this one, remember, we're in the beard transition description. We're also going to create a new map. We're going to call this beard transition mask. Let's start with black and create. We're going to paint with white. So all of this top area only. And we can even go again 50% gray, and we're gonna paint the border so that we don't get as much on the top part of the transition. Love Substance Painter. Don't know why, but I just feel pleasant. Yeah, Substance is so much fun. There we go. Let's save the map. And now we can play with the density. Same stuff here, like the root, the tip. You can see how this is generating these elements right here. Modifiers, simple modifiers. In this case, we're just gonna add a noise modifier. Again, same values. This is a little bit shorter, like the eyebrows, so we can do the 10 and 2. Definitely a little bit more density. Probably a little bit more length. Not super long, but just a little bit more length. Because on the modifiers, I'm also going to add a cut modifier again. A little bit more aggressive. So let's go again 2 and 5. Oh no, that's way too much. Okay, let's go 1 and 2. That's a little bit more interesting. Kind of looks like he's shaped right there, which again could look interesting for what we're going for. And remember, we're always going to have, we're also going to have the mustache later on, right? So we grab the transition, right click, and assign the exact same standard hair material. Let's save. Let's close the render. Open it up again. Let's save that snapshot. Oh, those are render. And what we should see now is we're gonna see a couple more. Seeing them or not? There we go. So we're seeing. I'm pretty sure we're. No, we're not seeing them yet. Okay. So Control U. There's an option here to update the whole thing. Where is it? Update full scene. There we go. stop. Let's just go over here. Close them. See them again. They might be very small though. And now with the noise, it might be a little bit difficult to see. There you go. You can see it right there. So see how much this, like, it's a very subtle change, but just that little shadow right there is gonna allow us to generate a little bit of a better border on the beard. Still think we can maybe increase the density to like, again, like a 30. Maybe just a little bit of width to make it a little bit like thicker. And you should be able to see the difference now. So it's hairs that are gonna again help us with the transition between this beard and this beard. It's definitely too thick. A little bit less length. We can again play with noise and stuff. And again, this is what I was mentioning about whenever you're doing, and I think this is full screen worthy. Whenever you're doing anything, layers are one of the most important things, and not about layers in Photoshop or Substance. It's how you think about all of the elements that are making up your character. How many layers of armor is he gonna have? How many layers of like damage? Because he might have like a big cut and then smaller cuts and then like a little bit of blood here. So all of those layers and interesting elements that you add to your character is what's gonna make them more interesting to look at and a more successful project overall. So yeah, that's it, guys. This was a fun stream. I'm gonna stop it right now. But I hope you liked it. Let's just very quickly do a full res render. So let's do 2K, and let's turn on the imager. So my sound or the music might blur out a little bit, but let's take a look at this. There you go. So of course now with the full render we can appreciate a little bit more of the details. And this is one of the things that I don't like about the denoiser. It's a little bit aggressive, so you can see it like blurs out a lot of detail. But if we increase the samples, I know that we're gonna get a better effect. Of course, there's probably a little bit more noise and stuff that we can tweak and modify. But this is the main like way in which we tackle hair. So hopefully with this whole thing, it's a little bit better. Like the whole process is a little bit clearer. If you want to see a more like condensed version of this stream, there's a video on the YouTube channel where I do like a little mustache and a little bit of a beard for a character, following very, very similar principles. And yeah, I am rendering with GPU right now, my friend. And which is my favorite software? I'll probably say ZBrush. ZBrush and Substance are probably the two best ones for me. So yeah, that's it, guys. Thank you very much. I hope you have a great weekend, and stay tuned because we're going to be releasing the course very, very soon. We're going to link here the Discord, and don't forget to follow, share, subscribe. And if you want to, you can even go to the site right now. If you go to my site, www.avliel3d.com, you can sign up with your email, and we're going to be sending a notification when the new course launches so that everyone can see the whole thing. Sneak peek. You guys want a sneak peek? Well, this head right here is a sneak peek, but let me show you the sneak peek of the sword, okay? Let me just stop the render. I'll show you a sneak peek of the sword. Very quickly. So this is going to be chapter 1 of the Substance Painter course. And without having a high poly, that's one of like the little secrets for this first chapter. Without having a high poly, we're gonna get to this result right here. So if you've never used Substance Painter, I'm sure you guys are gonna love this first chapter, because it's not only a full introduction to the software, but also to a lot of like design and texturing techniques to get this result right here. All of the models, of course, are going to be provided. And yeah, this is just like in the first hour of the course, you guys are going to be able to texture this sword so that it looks like this. It's a little bit of a complex setup, but I'm going to be showing you all of the necessary things that you need to know to generate this effect right here. And later on, we're going to be texturing the dwarf, the full, well, that's not the full character, it's all the way to the hip only, but we're going to be doing what's the word again? Armor, cloth, skin, wood, stone, like all of the materials, the typical materials that you're gonna find in your projects, we're gonna be covering during the course. I'm on the last parts of the recording. I'm gonna be recording full time during the weekend, and yeah, next week you guys are gonna be able to get here. Oh no, they haven't seen the armor. Like even like I don't normally get like super surprised with my stuff. I'm always proud of what I do, but for the armor, when I finished it, I was like, damn, this looks good. So I think you guys are gonna like it. So yeah, that's it, my friends. I again hope you have a great weekend, and I'll see you back very soon. If you want to keep talking, send me a message or whatever, just drop into the Discord channel. I'm there pretty much all day. So yeah, that's it, guys. Have a great one. I'll see you back.